Troubles, they say, come not in singles, but in battalions. Take the Israel-Hamas war. It's now spilled over into the Red Sea. It's now quickly become the Houthi versus Israel war that's affecting all of global shipping. And now it seems that an old menace of Somali piracy might have returned. Now, why are the seas that are so vital to Indian commerce suddenly become so unsafe? And joining me to discuss this very important sequence of events is Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha, former CNC Western Naval Command, Maritime expert Captain Navin Singhal, and my colleague Deepak Badana. Gentlemen, welcome to the News9 Plus show. Admiral Sinha, I want to start by asking you about this hijacking of the Liberian tanker. We are given to understand that Indian naval destroyers and maritime reconnaissance aircraft have headed, they've identified the ship, it's been boarded by hostile persons of unknown origin. But, explain to us if what happens next when a ship is hijacked by people like this, by pirates or insurgents, we don't know yet. What is the sequence of events that unfold next? How would we intervene to rescue our crewmen?
Well, thank you, Sandeep, for getting me on your program. And namaskar to all your viewers and very happy New Year. Once the warship is in the area, now a lot will depend on the crew of the ship who are still steering under the command of the so-called either the pirates or who they are, we don't know. And they will be, the crew will be guided by the Indian Navy's, commanding officer or the officer in charge who's going to board the ship and give him directives so that the ship goes where the Indian Navy ship wants, what is becoming convenient to it for the possibly the Marine Commandos or a QRT to board.
Right.
Primarily, they will like to take the ship not in the direction where the pirates want.
Yeah.
And see what via media can be taken, where it can be taken. And that will also help that the Indian Navy getting another ship or another sort of assets
Right.
into the area before they board the ship. So that is number one. The second point is that boarding is must. It will have to be boarded, there's no doubt about it. And the crew of the merchant ship, Liberian flagged ship, they will have to keep the the so-called miscreants on board engaged in the talk, or keep giving them assurance that yes, they are steering this course, they're doing this and doing exactly what they say. But actually they are facilitating the Indian naval boarding team, which I will suspect that normally these ships, when they're deployed, they always have a small component of Marine Commando and the helicopter on board.
And this is exactly what our Marcos are trained for boarding of. They're some of the finest commandos, special forces operators that we have in the country.
Absolutely, they're very well trained and they can get into nooks and corners of the ship. We have this exercise very often, even at sea while coming back from our exercise area. We used to take the commandos absolutely what is called the unalarmed, and they would come to capture the ship and another team would come to try and sort of take over the ship from them. And both the teams used to be from different sort of units. So what I would say that firstly, just a wild guess that this is not a coincidence that the the war in Yemen is intensified after the Israel-Hamas, as you quoted, Sandeep, and the the piracy act of piracy, hijacking of the ship, etc., has become a little more. Obviously, you have a fight going on between two parties, in which one party is supported by a country which is under sanction. And therefore, the money is required, and most of the money can come from this kind of hijacking.
Right.
Sandeep.
Absolutely. Captain Singhal, since you have a bird's eye view of the entire, maritime world, explain to us whether, we don't know for sure yet, right, if the Somali pirates have kind of been involved. But, given the fact that it seems to be close to a port called Isle, if you remember, it's one of those Somali pirate ports. How much of a challenge is it now, the entire Red Sea area? Is it a complete no-go for ships, container traffic and tankers?
Yeah, thanks, Sandeep, and Happy New Year to you and everybody else out here. and thank you for calling me here for this discussion. Yeah. So, for the merchant shipping, as I understand, there is a significant amount of ships being diverted to, via the Cape Town because of this, because of the Houthi and the,
Right.
the drone attacks. And what's happened is that in the last, a few days, we've seen the piracy coming up with it. So what it appears is that, the pirates have just sort of come, active, possibly trying to make hay while the sun shines.
Right. Right.
And so this has certainly, sort of as putting the ship owners also on an alert. So what had happened in the past, as you are aware, that when the piracy did emerge in 2005, a lot of big ship owners, even their ships got hijacked in the early years, 2006, 2007, and
Yeah.
2000. If you recall, 2009 was the Maersk Alabama.
Yes.
So it was around 2007, 8, and 9 when the shipping industry really became alert about this piracy, and a lot of things emerged. You had the armed guards.
Yeah, but Captain
the-
Singhal, it kind of peaked in 2009 and 10, and then it kind of tapered off when I think the world, they got their act together. But as we were discussing on the show a while ago, it's you had Somali pirates in speedboats and RPGs and assault rifles, and today you have Houthis who have just detonated a drone boat in the middle of the Red Sea, and they're firing ballistic missiles on warships even. So I mean the scale of the challenge that you're facing, merchant shipping is facing, there's of an order I don't think has been seen by shipping in possibly ever, and certainly not since the Gulf, the tanker wars of the 80s.
No, there's no comparison at all, because that was different. The war in the Iran and Iraq in the 80s, that was different, and this is extremely different, because here there's so much of uncertainty, and the guidelines that have been given to the ships for the drone. Because like I said, they're like sitting ducks, but the guidelines they have been given is that in case you do, if there is a drone attack, then they need to get into there is a column in the ship which is the staircase.
Yes.
The staircase is in the central part, and that is got a prevention of two bulkheads. So you have the ship side, and you have at least one more bulkhead. So it is in this particular column that if there is a rocket that's fired or something, so it may not penetrate and may not reach this. So this is guidance. So you can imagine for the ship's crew how it is. Even for them, imagine if they have to catch up with their sleep to be able to keep a watch, and how will they be able to sleep in their cabins comfortably and have a sound 6-8 hours?
Absolutely, and I can only imagine what must be going through the minds of the Indian crewmen there on that vessel of Somali. But Deepak, you've been listening very quietly to this discussion. You have a question.
My question is, see, considering the varied nature of threats that exist today in the strategic nature of this region, the first thing is, what kind of measures do we need actually? So we've got guided destroyers there, guided missile destroyers.
Yes.
I believe if we have to deal with these pirates who again come in these speedboats, we'll need some sort of armed personnel on board, or at least like a quick reaction team in the vicinity.
Right.
And furthermore, what complicates things is, do we need to be there on a regular basis, much like the Chinese, who I believe have been patrolling
that's an interesting
the region?
point. And Admiral Sinha, what Deepak is basically asking is the fact that, look, protection of commerce, our economic lifelines, is one of the most critical tasks that the Indian Navy performs. We've already beefed up our presence in the Arabian Sea and the Red Sea indeed, but does this call for more proactive measures? Have you already got, kind of sucked into this conflict to protect our interests?
See, Sandeep, if you recall, when the first time piracy happened,
yes,
we began our anti-piracy patrol, and since then, we are already there all the time, 24/7.
Right.
Now there are times when there are number of ships are more, 2 or 3, but mostly there is 1 or 2 ships. Now this is where the cooperation of other navies is very important, and that we have been doing, including the one with the Chinese naval ships.
Right.
What we do is we talk to them on the radio, and we type that, okay, fine, this is the convoy of 3 or 4 ships which are transiting through Red Sea, and you be at the end and I be in the beginning, or other way around.
Right.
So every time the convoy is led inside or outside the Red Sea.
Yes.
So that part is taken care of. Second thing is that there is always a QRT on board ships
Right.
We have started in 2003,
Right.
the procedure, or rather 2007, the procedure of VBSS. Okay,
Yes.
we go visit, board, search and seize. So
Yeah.
this is a SOP since 2007, and we have done that to a couple of ships, and we
Yeah.
practice it every time.
Yeah.
And therefore, I don't think there should be any suspicion that Indian Navy primary role is to secure the sea lanes of communication. And
Yes.
therefore, it has got everything that is required
Right.
to board a ship and take over the hijacked ship and maybe take over the hijackers.
Right.
Now, second point I want to make is, Unnithan, very, a lot of people been saying Somali pirates, etc.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, these pirates have no stomach for, $20 million and $30 million.
Right.
That money is going to terror organizations.
Right,
It goes for
right.
funding.
Of course.
There's no question of these fellows are getting this $500-600.
Yes.
And it is a fact that
Right.
$500-600, where is it going?
Right.
I would believe very, very strongly that these are actually going to groups like these who are fighting, on mercenaries, or they are fighting in areas
Right.
like Yemen.
So interesting. What you're saying is that the pirates themselves are proxies. Houthis are, as we know, Iranian proxies, but the pirates also could be proxies of other non-state actors. But Captain Singhal, looking forward in the next couple of months, do you, the global, the insurance rates have gone, they've skyrocketed. Ships, as you mentioned, have been going via the Cape of Good Hope. What's the long-term prognosis? I mean, if the war drags on, how bad is it going to be for global commerce? And are you going to hope for the Houthis to run out of missiles, before shipping can resume there in the Red Sea?
Well, you see, some of the owners are still continuing their passage through the Red Sea, and so
Right.
is, with the assurance that's been provided by the naval forces, the Indian Navy as well as combined maritime forces. And one of your panelists did mention about the armed guards. Yes, they are carrying armed guards, and armed guards has been there. Initially there were 4 armed guards in the early years, about 12
Right.
years back. After 2012, there's been no hijack. There've been 2
Yes.
hijacks, but very insignificant. Now, even today, they are carrying a minimum of 2 armed guards, and it's possible that if this sort of hijack, continues, so then they may increase that to maybe 3, because
Right.
they have arms, and generally speaking, there is not a single ship that's been hijacked with armed guards on board.
Right.
Historically, it's never been there. They have been isolated attacks, but they've run away when they've heard the gunshots. So there is a challenge out there, and this particular vessel, which is the Leela, the one that is where the activity is going on. So there again, the Navy is also because there is a protocol of which I am aware that the naval ships do not board a vessel with hijackers, with the pirates on board.
Yeah.
Until they have got 100% confirmation that the entire crew is in the citadel, because once they board, they're going to shoot everyone down.
Right.
So most likely that confirmation has already been given to the Navy, but even then the Navy is going to take its, they have to board very carefully, because the armed guard and the pirates, they would be in numbers, maybe 8, 10 with heavy automatic weapons. So it's going to be a very big challenge to board, and these type of things have been done in the past, but it's not easy.
It's not easy. Captain Singhal, I'm sorry, we've run out of time, but thank you very much for that point that you made, and the reassuring part here is that the Indian Navy is now present. It's on the spot. One ship is there, the patrol aircraft are there, so you can only hope for good things to happen, and hopefully lessons have been learnt and these are going to be implemented very quickly. But thank you very much, Admiral Sinha, for joining us this evening, and Captain Singhal and Deepak. We continue monitoring that story, that very interesting maritime rescue story of Somalia.
News9 Plus. Download now.